Well, it's something that happens each season. Georgia gets really good running backs that come in, and I wanted to focus on this today because we don't know what the future holds with the guys in the program that have been here of late, Edwards, Milton, McIntosh. But now you've added two guys uh, in Andrew Paul and Branson Robinson. And Kirby talked about them earlier this week after the scrimmage, and I think it's important uh, to to recognize how they could impact this season. And it's not insignificant. And in talking with folks behind the scenes who were at the scrimmage, they did say the young guys looked good, but there were some caveats there too, and I'm going to talk about that as well. Here's what Kirby said after the scrimmage about both Robinson and Paul. He said, I think anytime you talk about being able to help a team, it's probably easiest at skill position at an early age. When you look at the history here, we have had freshman wideouts lead our teams a lot of times in receiving, and at running backs, we've had more of an old head, meaning older players. There's always like there's always two guys, which is the case this fall as well. It's not a lack of running backs being able to. We've had more experienced backs, but and this is the important part. Kirby goes on to say these two young guys are different. They're a little heavier, thicker, run behind their pads, probably, uh, and they probably don't show up best until days like talking about the scrimmage today because they're a little harder to tackle. You don't see that in a practice every day. By the way, that's an important statement because it is tough to see that when we see them in the media availability. He said, "I thought those guys talking about Paul and Robinson had good scrimmages, not great, not where they need to be, not where they need to be in pass protection, but they are hard to tackle and they're thick. I'm very pleased with where they are. Neither one going through the spring hurts their development in terms of number of special number one special teams, number two picking up pressures. We need them to come along because durability is always an issue at running back. I don't think I've been through a year here where we didn't have one of our top three backs miss a game. If that happens, one of those guys better be ready to step up and play." Well, that's a lot to digest. I want to point out very quickly here that pass protection is abnormally important from a running back. It is something that people used to say and like sort of make fun of the Mark Richt era talking about pass protection. Georgia may not win the national championship a season ago without pass protection from James Cook on the AD Mitchell throw. That could have been two sacks in a row. Georgia is faced with a third and 25 at midfield and possibly having to punt the ball away down one. So pass protection, James Cook, what he did was vitally important for Georgia to keep it rolling um, in that 2021 season. I want to point out that we also have you can read about that play and more in DAWGSTRUCTION. Make sure you're picking it up today. We've had a lot of orders lately. I've got books coming in this week, and they're going to go out this week to everybody who's ordered. So DAWGSTRUCTION here. I'm running out of 2022 season previews, yearbooks, whatever you want to call it. You cannot buy this anywhere other than at Red Zone or the link down below. Make sure you're checking it out. I know now I've got the um, it's everything's going out this week in terms of to subscribers. So stand by for an annual subscriber. There's been a lot of people who have upgraded, but DAWGSTRUCTION is something that you're going to want to keep. It is a collectible. It is something that you'll have the rest of your life. I've got stuff from when Lauren Smith wrote. I think he teamed up with Louis Grizzard at some point. No, I'm not neither. I'm not either of those guys, um, but they're not photographers, and we have some excellent images in there. Make sure you're checking out both of those publications today. The links are down below. Um, if you are Robinson and Paul, you are in a situation where you could explode on the scene. That's hard to do at Georgia. but it's happened before with young backs. Todd Gurley did it, Nick Chubb did it. I think Sony did it as well. DeAndre Swift was in on some of the most critical plays for Georgia in their 17 season. He was in on that third down where they had to convert and they didn't, but they had to convert. Andrew Thomas was out there, Jake Fromm, DeAndre Swift, and there was another freshman that was true freshman that was on the field for that critical third down. They didn't convert it. Rodrigo came on soon thereafter, kicked the whatever that was, 30-yarder, and this point is important. Younger running backs can really make big plays. Zamir never got that chance, okay, because he was hurt. But it can happen with younger guys. I mean, Herschel Walker is a great example. Noshawn, Thomas Brown, Danny Ware. So young guys can really do that at running back. Uh, these two guys, if what Kirby's saying here is right, um, then they can be the real deal. And look, let's just be honest. Georgia doesn't sign bad running backs. The guy that's being not talked about at all is Dejon Edwards. I mean, Edwards is hard to tackle. He has very good balance. The other thing I wanted to pass along, and you know that if you know this, if you read our story about the scrimmage from Saturday, is that situationally, my understanding is that these two running backs, were not in there with the number one unit on the offensive line. So the offense had a good day on Saturday, but these guys were not with the O line, the number one O line, as I've been told. So we'll just see. But I think these are really important comments from Kirby because Kendall Milton right now has an injury with a hamstring. It's not serious, but it is a legitimate thing, and you don't want to only depend on one or two guys at running back. The other thing too is that guys that are young, they are gonna need to play on special teams, and that means those guys got to get out there. Y'all may remember this, you may not, but Sony Michel and Nick Chubb's first game was against Clemson in 14, and there's Sony Michel being the gunner for Georgia. Clemson couldn't return punts because he was down in people's faces so fast. That was an afternoon game that turned into a night game. But these guys are going to need to be ready to go. I mean, Nick had a huge season in 14. Todd had a huge season in 12. Noshawn in 7. These things happen with young players at Georgia. With Kirby, it's been a little bit different because they have had older guys, but that was because he inherited Nick and Sony as juniors, and then and then they stuck around so that DeAndre was not, the feature back as a freshman. Then DeAndre became the guy as a sophomore and junior in 18 and 19, but they also had Elijah Holyfield. So if you're getting Elijah Holyfield like production from these guys during their career, that's really good running back production. Um, but we'll just see. And it sounds like he is happy with where the backs are right now. We'll see how this goes. But your running backs the young ones, they gotta be out there for kickoff, return, sometimes kickoff. I mean, Brian Herrien was a good running back for Georgia, and he was out there on a lot of special teams, y'all. And so these guys have got to get ready to go. And that meant that Kendall Milton is banged up. You know, Kirby said Kendall has a bit of a grade 1 hamstring, but it's nothing severe. They don't want it to become severe. Kendall's missed a lot of time because of injuries, but if he has a breakout season the way I suspect he could, that guy's the real deal, and he's not going to be sharing a lot of snaps with younger guys, which means the younger guys are going to have to figure this thing out. And again, this is what Kirby said. Those two young guys are different. They're a little heavier, thicker, run behind their pads, and they probably don't show up best until days like today, because they're a little harder to tackle. You don't see that in practice every day because they're not getting tackled. They're not getting tackled to the ground. So these two guys are two to pay attention to. We'll see where it goes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the website.